Imagine a city where the world's wealthiest traders, explorers, and dreamers gathered. A place built on daring ambition and cultural diversity, yet surrounded by nothing but untamed wilderness. Long before New York's towering skyscrapers and bright lights, this global icon began as a humble Dutch outpost called New Amsterdam. But how did this tiny settlement on the edge of a continent become the legendary Big Apple? Join us as we journey back in time to uncover New York's hidden Dutch beginnings, where every street and building has a story that helped shape one of the greatest cities on earth. The early 1600s were the height of the age of exploration. Powerful European nations like Spain, England, and France were expanding their empires, eager to claim new lands and resources. The Netherlands, though small in size, was one of the wealthiest and most influential maritime nations of the time, with a vast global trading network. In 1609, an Englishman named Henry Hudson, sailing under a Dutch flag, ventured into what we now know as New York Harbor. He sailed up a river that would later bear his name, discovering a vast network of waterways, rich lands, and a coastline that could open up countless trading opportunities. Hudson's discoveries sparked Dutch interest in this region. They saw incredible potential in North America, particularly in the fur trade. Beaver pelts in particular were in high demand in Europe, where they were used to make hats that signified wealth and status. In 1624, the Dutch West India Company, a powerful trading corporation with its own private army and navy, sent a group of settlers to establish a permanent foothold in the New World. This company wasn't just any business, it had almost complete authority over the colony, from making treaties to waging wars. These settlers arrived at the southern tip of a large island the Native Americans called Manhattan. They named their new settlement New Amsterdam, after the bustling Dutch capital back home. This modest trading post would eventually grow into what we now call Manhattan. Life in New Amsterdam was tough and unpredictable. The settlers had to carve a colony out of dense forests, all while facing the challenges of a new and untamed land. They had to build homes, roads, and fortifications, all with limited resources and constant threats from the wilderness. The buildings in New Amsterdam were simple yet sturdy wooden structures with thatched roofs, built to withstand the harsh winters and storms that swept in from the Atlantic. A wooden palisade surrounded the settlement, a barrier to protect against potential attacks from native tribes and rival European powers. At the heart of New Amsterdam was a narrow dirt path that connected the docks to the center of the settlement. This path, known to the early settlers as the Road, would one day evolve into the iconic Broadway, now synonymous with New York's bustling energy. New Amsterdam's location was one of its greatest assets. Positioned at the mouth of the Hudson River, it provided direct access to the interior of North America, making it a strategic point for trade and exploration. The harbor was deep and sheltered, ideal for ships traveling across the Atlantic. Trade quickly became the lifeblood of New Amsterdam. The Dutch, known for their mastery of commerce, established trading relationships with the local Native American tribes. In exchange for European goods, they received fur pelts, especially beaver fur, which was highly prized in Europe. Beaver fur was considered a luxury item in Europe, used to make fashionable and durable hats. The high demand for these pelts generated significant wealth for the settlers and quickly transformed New Amsterdam into a prosperous trading hub despite its small size. The Dutch valued diversity and tolerance, and New Amsterdam became a magnet for people from various backgrounds seeking a fresh start. This policy attracted settlers from all over Europe, as well as free Africans, creating a unique mix of cultures that was rare in the colonies at the time. In New Amsterdam, it was common to hear multiple languages spoken on the streets and see people of different religions and nationalities mingling. This early cultural mix set the stage for the vibrant diversity that would define New York for centuries to come. The colony was also remarkable for its religious tolerance. While many other colonies enforced strict religious conformity, New Amsterdam allowed freedom of worship, attracting people from different faiths, including Jews, Catholics, and Protestants, who lived and worked side by side. This approach to tolerance extended beyond religion. The Dutch encouraged hard work and self-reliance, welcoming anyone willing to contribute to the colony's success. This open attitude attracted people who faced discrimination elsewhere, including Jews escaping persecution and Africans seeking a freer life. However, despite the colony's tolerant policies, it was governed by the Dutch West India Company, a powerful corporation focused more on profit than community welfare. This corporate role often led to tensions between the settlers and the company, which saw New Amsterdam primarily as a business venture. One of the colony's early leaders, Peter Minuit, is famous for his deal with the Lenape tribe, where he purchased the island of Manhattan for goods worth around 60 guilders. This transaction has been romanticized over the years, but it was more complex than a simple sale. For the Linux, land wasn't something that could be owned outright. They saw it as a shared resource to be used and respected by everyone. So this purchase likely meant something different to them than it did to the Dutch settlers. As New Amsterdam grew, so did tensions with the local native tribes. Competition over resources, cultural misunderstandings, and occasional conflicts created an uneasy peace. The settlers relied on the fur trade with Native Americans, but they also viewed the land as Dutch territory. In 1647, a new governor arrived, Peter Stuyvesant, a former soldier with a strict authoritarian style. Known as Old Silver Leg, due to his wooden peg leg, Stuyvesant sought to bring order and discipline to a colony that had become, in his eyes, too unruly. Stuyvesant imposed strict regulations, cracking down on activities like drinking and gambling, which he saw as threats to the colony's moral fabric. His firm stance on public behavior made him unpopular among some settlers who resented his interference in their daily lives. He also prioritized the colony's defenses. Stuyvesant reinforced the wooden palisade wall along the northern edge of New Amsterdam, a wall that would one day give rise to Wall Street, a name now synonymous with finance and power. Despite the challenges, New Amsterdam continued to thrive as a center for trade and culture. Merchants, craftsmen, and artisans arrived from Europe and the Caribbean, enriching the colony's economy and adding to its diversity. But this prosperity attracted the attention of the British, who saw New Amsterdam's strategic location as essential for controlling the eastern coast of North America. In 1664, British warships entered the harbor and demanded the colony's surrender. Stuyvesant wanted to defend New Amsterdam, but the settlers, fearing loss and destruction, persuaded him to surrender without bloodshed. The Dutch handed over the colony peacefully, and New Amsterdam was renamed New York in honor of the Duke of York. Although now under British control, much of the Dutch influence remained. The British valued New Amsterdam's well-developed infrastructure, and many Dutch customs, words, and architectural styles persisted in the newly named city of New York. Dutch words like cookie, stoop, and boss became part of the American vocabulary, and elements of Dutch urban planning influenced the grid layout that would shape New York streets. Many of New York's streets still bear Dutch names like Wall Street, named after the wall the Dutch built, and Harlem, named after a town in the Netherlands. These names are reminders of the city's Dutch roots. The legacy of Dutch tolerance and multiculturalism laid a foundation that allowed New York to welcome waves of immigrants from around the world, making it a city that embraced people from all walks of life. As New York grew under British rule, it expanded beyond its original boundaries, evolving into a critical hub for commerce and trade. By the 18th century, it had become a major port, exporting goods like grain, lumber, and fur to Europe and other colonies. During the American Revolution, New York's strategic location made it a prized possession. British forces occupied the city for much of the war, turning it into a fortress and a symbol of resilience. After the Revolution, New York emerged as a key city in the young United States. Its economy flourished, and its population grew rapidly as people arrived in search of opportunity and freedom. The construction of the Erie Canal in 1825 connected New York to the Great Lakes, accelerating trade and migration. This further solidified New York's role as an economic powerhouse, attracting even more settlers. By the 19th century, New York was transforming from a colonial outpost into a bustling metropolis. Skyscrapers began to rise, factories and warehouses filled the landscape, and the city's vibrant spirit continued to draw newcomers. Yet, traces of New Amsterdam's legacy remained visible in the names, architecture, and spirit of the city. The influence of Dutch tolerance, entrepreneurship, and resilience was woven into the very fabric of New York. Today, New York is a city defined by ambition, diversity, and a relentless drive for innovation. Values that trace back to its Dutch roots. From New Amsterdam to the Big Apple, New York's story is one of growth, transformation, and resilience. Thank you for joining us on this journey through New York's rich history, from its humble beginnings as New Amsterdam to the dynamic metropolis it is today. This city, defined by ambition, diversity, and a relentless drive for innovation, continues to thrive and evolve. Its story is a testament to resilience, reminding us that every corner has a tale to tell. If you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories from the past. Until next time, keep discovering the echoes of the city around.